Okay, it is 6:30, so we're going to start the meeting for TCP Building Design Committee. Few opening remarks. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. And all town facilities are currently open on a limited basis to the public. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be recorded and be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link below to join the public meeting webinar, which was included on the agenda. From a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID 873-0553-2643 and then the pound sign. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. I will call the roll in no particular order. Dave Passios.
Here.
Brian Leighton.
Here.
Dave Platt.
Here.
And do we have Michael Ray Jeffries?
I don't see him on the list.
I don't either, but I wondered if he was on the phone. Oh,
Yeah.
There he is. I see him. I have to admit him. Michael Ray Jeffries, we were just calling the roll, so.
Perfect timing then.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so we have a limited agenda this evening, and by that I mean we're going to try to focus this into a workshop discussion primarily. So we are going to hold public comment at the end of the meeting only, and brief, I think. We'll see how much time. We're trying to squeeze this ahead of the select board meeting, which starts at 7, which is one of the reasons for the 5:30 start time this evening. So, but I wanted to, as I mentioned at the end of last meeting, I wanted to spend a few minutes to try and talk through committee organization or reorganization. Tanner Cole was our clerk, and Tanner has resigned. So we will ultimately get a couple new members, but I just thought that we should at least discuss who will do minutes for at least the next few meetings until we have some additional members. So, or if we want to nominate, if anybody's interested in the in the clerk role, I'd be open to suggestions. We haven't. I know we haven't talked about this beforehand, but.
As I mentioned in a private conversation with Greg, until I get past the November elections, I'm just buried up to my ears. So I wouldn't even dare volunteer. I'm struggling just to get the 2 I volunteered to do from previous meetings. So I really cannot commit to anything else right now.
So, Greg, as the vice chair, I don't think I could be. I can't be clerk as well. But
Yeah.
If you need somebody for this meeting to take notes, I'll take notes for this meeting.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I'm hoping to get out of the other meeting I have to watch and take notes, but that's a topic for a different day.
Okay. All right. Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, we could, I guess, table this if no one's going to volunteer, which I'm guessing no one's
Well,
going
I,
to.
I, I I recommend
Until
we
we get-
wait till, I recommend till we wait till we
Yeah.
get new members.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I guess, let's just, at the beginning of each meeting, let's just acknowledge who's going to take the minutes and, so we know who that's going to be. But I'll write you down for this one, Dave. I appreciate you stepping up for that.
That's the idea of Lunenburg, right? Once you volunteer, keep volunteering.
Yeah, I'm catching that drift. Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay.
Does anybody
Well,
know if the planning board has addressed that issue with their representative? Because I know they were supposed to discuss it at a recent meeting. I have not been able to watch it.
Yeah, so the last time, before last week's meeting, I asked Heather if they had talked about it on Monday night, because I think we met on Tuesday last week. They talked about it briefly, wasn't an agenda topic, so they didn't feel like they could nominate anybody. And I think she said it was going to be put on the end of October, an agenda on the end of October. I don't know if that was their next meeting or if, but I thought she said something like October 24th.
That's what I recall hearing as
Maybe
well.
26th is a Monday, so. So we've got a few meetings to go until we're gonna be a full committee again. Do you know the status? I haven't looked at the select board agenda, Michael Ray. Do you have anybody? I know there was one person interested, but I don't think they ultimately could commit.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anyone volunteering yet, and it's not on our
Alright.
agenda for tonight. But
Okay,
I do believe you're correct because the planning board meets on the second and fourth meeting of every month about that.
yeah,
And since next Monday is a holiday, I do believe Heather's
Ah.
on the 26th.
that's right. Next Monday is a holiday. Okay. Yep. Okay. Well, I think that's, then we'll take it up at our first meeting in November, hopefully. And if we, if and when we get a full slate, or at least another member.
What? I didn't realize Lunenburg celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving. That's the only holiday I know of Monday.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, okay. So the crux of this meeting was to have a workshop session, primarily so that the committee members could discuss, well, I'll call it use priorities, but really, I think the sentiment after last meeting, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dave Passio sort of said it, at least his version of it is what sticks in my mind, is that we have a lot of folks, a lot of uses that we're trying to pack into this building. It's becoming clear that space is a premium. We're going to have difficulty fitting, perhaps fitting all of the uses in there. And so we needed to have a discussion amongst the committee members to really sort of drill down on our priorities. And that discussion started with Michael Ray last week, and sort of gave us a snapshot of his thinking for that. But, really to give some good, concrete priorities and direction, I guess, to our design team before we get into the next step, which kind of, in my view anyway, is more, they're, so far they've been drafted with pencil. The next stage is ink. So, once we get into that, we want to be much more solid, I think, in what our space plan is. So, I sort of thought we would start by taking a look at the current plan that the architect has circulated. So I think I will share that screen with folks, and then I thought we would go around and just pick up where we left off regarding use priorities. We've all had a week to kind of think through that, digest the last meeting, and so I thought we'd just pick up there and with the goal of trying to come up with a unified set of direction, I guess, for the design team. Does that sound reasonable? Anybody can?
Very
No?
reasonable.
No, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me pull up the plan here so we can, as fodder, for lack of a better word.
Since I am looking at about 4 hours of meetings tonight, I apologize that I will be eating during this one.
That's okay.
As long as you share.
1170 Mass Ave.
Yeah.
Be right down.
I just
90
ate-
seconds away.
I just scarfed out dinner myself, so I understand completely. So this is what we got from the architect. It was Monday, I think. Sorry, I just sent it to you now. I can barely keep up on my work emails at this present time, so I apologize. I'm trying to stay afloat here, but I don't know how we want to do this. Do we just want to kind of drill into any thoughts that we might have on priorities and, use, proposed use? Go ahead, Dave.
Mr. Chair, I make a suggestion. So can we, I'd like to look at, the sentiments from last meeting, it sounded to me like for office space, the school committee was looking for a little bit more room on office space.
Yep.
Type of things. And then the other side of it was just basically storage. The question was storage for the two groups. I did have a question on this because we had the discussion about whether the selectmen, the state rep need a separate office, or could they use a conference room? Could we have like a dedicated conference room or something like that for them to use, as they need on a need basis type of thing. My question I have is on if you're going into where the planning board, the green, the first office there, Board of Appeal.
Yeah.
I'm part of the zoning board. I'm trying to understand what the Board of Appeal is, if it's not the zoning board, and we don't have an office that I know of. We're all individuals that meet, and the irony is the building inspector's assistant,
Admin. Yeah.
admin is actually the person who is the planning board, the zoning board admin as well. So my question is whether that office there could be used as like an interim office for selectmen, state rep, when they're holding offices with townsfolks, or a conference room.
Yep.
So I would look at it as if they were meeting with one person individually, it could be in that office, or if they had to just do regular business. If you were meeting with more than one, you can grabbing a conference room and using that space per se. To me, that would free up a lot of room in the back for, in the pink area in the back for other offices and storage or future expansion and things of that sort. So, this is my easiest way of doing it. Is just kind of addressing it as we go and listening to each other's
Yep.
ideas on things.
Yep. Nope, I think that's good. I'm writing these questions down so we can memorialize them.
And Mr. Roy, is the intent to have a conversation about these, or to go kind of around the horn?
I think go around the horn, but we can certainly do this dialogue form. It's a workshop. So I think if anybody has conversation relative to that, to those 2 points, Dave's points, feel free.
Well, then, okay, I'll jump in. I think that there's agreement that we can eliminate the selectman office and the state representative office altogether, and that need can be consolidated into a conference room that's otherwise available. I think it's also important to not, one thing to note is that when there are these conversations with residents, a lot of it is private and confidential, and that we also need designated meeting space to meet with town council that is separate from everywhere else. So that way we can have private and confidential discussions. So that's something that is within the, so as we look at the pink area, if we eliminate selectmen, we eliminate state rep, you know, those are really small areas to free up. But certainly the schools are going to need more room. I would not mix selectmen with planning. I think that we could use another conference room, and I would keep planning integrity. One thing I want to be mindful of, though, is that I would encourage us to think 10 years down the line, in the sense that we want to make sure that we don't outgrow this building in 5 or 10 years. And as the town grows, you know, there's conversation about need for additional positions, such as facilities manager. I'm not sure where we're putting that person at. There may be, you know, there's been talk about bringing an engineer on staff within the town. That certainly we're way away from that. But we want to be mindful that if that is a need, that's going to be in the planning office area, certainly the Board of Appeals office. So I would encourage keeping, as I've looked at this, I would encourage everything in green makes sense to me, and I don't see opportunities to really change that. But I would focus on the pink section up here. The town manager indicated that the Veterans Office is a necessity to have. But, you know, perhaps if we were to look at that, the space that currently is listed as selectmen and state rep, I don't know if that could be good, well suited for potential storage that would meet the needs of the town or the school department.
Yeah, and I guess my comment to that is if in that space, that pink space where the state rep office was and the select board office, if those are gone, then that space is being shared with a staff lounge and one office. So the sub-waiting area space might, the need for that might go away. So we could free up more space there. It might be able to be reconfigured so that we can, you know, maximize, if we're going to use it for something like storage, we could maximize that space and not use it for a subway. I see sub-waiting as more like where you have a suite of offices where people might be coming to see any number of people and you need a place for them to sit while they go and wait for that person to be, you know, to see that person. So maybe I'm wrong with that, but
I think you hit that on the head, but it's also a poor, I would just note, it's a poor location for a staff lounge. If we think about who meets with the town manager, that they're really, it's really important for the superintendent and for the town manager and for the selectmen. You know, we do meet with our town council. And so I think that it's really, you know, you can't have those confidential conversations if you're just a wall away from people taking their lunch breaks. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I would agree. I agree with the conversation. I think even that opens up an opportunity for Veterans Affairs to move to a possible different location. Just looking at the shared staff lounge, I agree it might not be the best location. Maybe it's potentially with or near the mailbox and copiers, kind of more of a central location, potentially. But I agree that the schools do need more space. I did have a conversation with the superintendent, and there really isn't she explored outside avenues of Ritter Building and the Boys and Girls Club, and it just didn't seem feasible. So I think it's more realistic. We need to make the space of TCP and make sure we have the classrooms and the office space and the storage space.
Yeah, and what? Sorry, Dave. 1 second. What I heard last week, and I think the superintendent was clarified this, is that we were currently showing. It looks like we're still showing about 2,000 square feet for schools, and the need is closer to 3,000 square feet. It's closer to like 3 classrooms worth of space. So I think that's a definite point that we need to drive home with our design team.
The other being that archived records between town and school sounded like about 2,000 square feet to have any space left for growth, floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
I know. I like the conversation we've been having about that pink area up there. I'd like to vacate everything that's in there at this point and look at that as an archived office storage area for probably the schools to get it close to them. Or if there's enough to split it in half and have give them better access and the town office or town manager's office access, then that whole corner be a possibly an archive storage.
So, okay. So, Mr. Chair, suggestion, please. So
Go
what if we looked at the first gray storage area, that 354 square feet, and looked at that as a shared staff lounge area?
It's about the same dimension. I mean,
About the same
square
dimension.
footage. Yeah,
It's kind of a weird room for storage because of the corners and things like that. So you can't, I don't think you can use everything. Figuring it's close to the staff toilet. So for plumbing and things of that sort, it's close there. If you wanted to do a little kitchenette or, a little sink with the coffee maker or something like that. And it's kind of away from the rest of the offices. Feeling that would free up the whole pink space for storage for, if we're looking at it as that floor to ceiling storage, it could be the record storage for, for the town and possibly for at least for one or the other. Let's put it that way.
mhm.
Yeah, I like that idea. I feel like it's about the same walk. Even conference room 1 or storage, they're close to the same size. I think either one could work. I don't know if making storage that area conference room size wise or dimension wise makes sense though. So I'm not sure which one, but I think either one could be a good staff lounge.
And I think we'd have to also think about how a table would work in there. The back of that room seems a little tight to do anything in there, so it seems like you're only going to get used to the front half of that room. So I would want to see the dimensions on that because that just seems really tight to me.
Right. So, Michael Ray, I agree, and that's why I was thinking about that back corner. It could just be like a sink, like a little countertop sink and things like that. For you can wash your thing out, or you can, if you're making coffee or something like that, it could be used for that little bit. Still giving enough room for. I don't know how many. I agree with you. I'm not sure how many people you could fit in there, but then again, it's supposed to be a kind of like a lounge. It's not supposed to be, the main lunch area, something like that. I don't know.
Where would the main lunch area be then, if not at the lounge?
My personal feeling was leaving the conference room 4 set up more like a, being able to utilize that space by the kitchen for like a, maybe rearranging that area there a little bit, but utilizing that space for a lunchroom.
So conference room 4 being the primary meeting space, being a dining room, being, okay, that's how you're envisioning that?
Right, because, if you think about it, conference room 4 is really for evenings because we have conference room 5, which is conference room 6, sorry, which is 1,000 square foot conference room, would be a large conference room for, I don't think we would have a large meeting during a lunchtime. You know what I mean? And there's always other areas. Because we talked about the idea that some groups wanted to be able to use like a conference room 4 to have like, ham dinners and other things like that. So we already have the tables. Might as well utilize the tables, and whether we rearrange it a bit, but utilize the tables we have.
If alternatively, conference room 2 were the staff lounge, as an example, 'cause that would be a bigger room. And if the pink area was given to the schools to accommodate just their office space needs, because they are looking for more office space needs, that would work. But then the storage is going to have to come out of the third wing in terms of archives. So that's then looking at Boys and Girls Club space in my mind. So if we were to have conference room 2 as like I said, a lounge, if we were to give the pink to the schools, and if we were to convert if Boys and Girls Club, which I know we want to be here, but if it wasn't here, and if that was if two of those classrooms were designated as storage space, that would meet, based on what I heard, the needs of the schools, the needs of the towns, and it would seem to accomplish what we want to do. So I think that to me makes sense, but it seems like we want to find a way to not have to do that so we can keep the Boys and Girls Club in the building. Am I coming from the right place here?
Personally, yes, I agree. My biggest question actually for me is more the ACE program versus the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, as I understand, and Brian, you can probably be more helpful on this one. I understood that the schools really wanted to keep that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's not something that you're going to be putting in, Turkey Hill at the high school. These are the 18 to 21-year-old students, and it's a separate program. I think also there's concerns about the schools not having enough space for the extended day programs too, which is, it pretty much runs like a parallel to the Boys and Girls Club. It's for those younger kids that can't be left at home alone, and I believe the superintendent was looking for 5 classrooms for those. So I think the big issue is there isn't enough space in that, because the classrooms aren't lining up, and it would be a shame to try to send those extended days back to the schools where it's just not possible, and putting them in the cafeterias. It makes a lot more sense to have it here. And I still like the idea of, as Mr. Jeffries had stated, the potential storage, adding more storage rooms as well in that upper wing. And then there's the potential that maybe we go more digital, we can free up some rooms, and then we have more availability for outside groups to come in.
So, I mean, we do have we have 1,000 square feet, over 1,000 square feet, close to 1,500 square feet of storage between the stage and above the stage in that area itself too, that we need to remember as well. I apologize, and please don't. I hope nobody takes this wrong, but I question the ACE program being a good spot here at Town Hall because of what it needs and what we have available. So if I look at the ACE, I have ACE is servicing 6 to 9 kids, 6 to 9 young adults right now, and they're requesting that we build them a kitchen, as well as, giving them that space. When I look at it as what could be freed up from the Boys and Girls Club could be a perfect space for them. There's a kitchen already there. There's already, an office there, and there's already that, somewhat towards a home living or some kind of area like that type of thing. I'm also trying to, I really believe that, to service the after school care, the pre-care, all those things is one of the prime missions that we have. I mean, and I think that's what I got from the superintendent. So if we look at servicing the most amount of people, I'm not sure, I would look at it as the Boys and Girls Club being able to keep that in versus keeping ACE in would be more of a priority on my side.
And would you mind just explaining, because I really don't know exactly what ACE does.
Yeah, so I would disagree. This is, so from my point of view, and the superintendent obviously would be better at explaining this than I, but it's for the program that these are public school students that they're not ready to graduate at 18. That they're just not ready. They need a lot more life skills. These are kids with special needs that they need. They can use their public education until they're in their 21. So this is a program that it's a public school program that we are educating these students and getting them ready for the real world. This isn't like the studio kitchen. This is just a basic kitchen, microwave, maybe an oven, fridge, and that you're literally teaching them how to live everyday life in the real world. Like this is a program that we need to be taking care of our students in Lunenburg, whether it's the AP students, your top-notch kids, or the kids with special needs that need these kind of programs. So I find that it's a necessity.
So it targets that, and excuse my ignorance on this, but it targets the transitional age, basically, that 18 to 21 age group, and it's providing them with, and I'm familiar with the study from BU that came out almost 20 years ago now, that was identifying the need for this kind of thing. It was prior to it being in existence. So it sounds like they've bridged that gap, because I remember the study from years ago. And so that's what this is. It's a continuation of public education, targeting, you know, a select group of students to provide them with real world life skills.
Yeah. I think you look at it too. Otherwise, if you don't have this program too, you're outsourcing to a different program and paying for transportation potentially. It creates a bunch of issues if you're not actually educating your students.
The other issue is that we're committing 1,000 square feet to 8 students. We do have an alternative location for it, and unless the superintendent corrects me, I believe this is a standalone program. So where they're housed is irrelevant as long as the facilities that they need are available to them. And I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just trying to state facts and make sure I have the facts right.
How is it funded? Because I think that that's something that I think we have to also talk about. Like PAC pays rent, but how is ACE funded? Do they pay?
So let me ask if Dr. Burnham would be willing to give us a 2-minute spiel on that. She is present. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. So the challenge with relocating the program to somewhere else, it needs to have an administrator attached to it. And where we are housed currently, the program is here at TCP, and our director of special services, her office as part of the special education office suite here, she serves as the administrator for this particular program. It is designated as a public day program, so that it has a separate distinction from, you know, our K-12 school population. But it is something that is funded as part of our school budget.
Got it. So it's something that we do have to provide real estate for, no matter what.
Somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Dr. Burnham, could you explain the administrator's responsibilities again? I was under the impression in previous conversations with the entire group, administrative group, that she was basically tied to that program. Have I got that wrong? She's got other responsibilities within the special needs department?
Oh, she has a lot of other responsibilities. She serves as the director for all special ed and other special services in the district. To have a program like this, you have to have an administrator attached to it, overseeing it. We don't really have the luxury of a budget that we could hire an administrator dedicated just to this program. So being co-located in this same building, she can serve as the administrator overseeing the program. When it was in the high school, the principal of the high school served as the administrator over the program. So in other words, if let's say, I thought I heard somebody suggest that perhaps the ACE program could locate over in the current teen center building. The director of special services would then have to have her offices over there, which means that essentially the whole special education department would have to be over there. And now the school administration is not all centrally located together. We're split up.
Okay.
Thank you. That explains it very clearly.
Thank you, Dr. Burnham.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I think we're struggling with part of what I said at the last meeting, and that is that we're trying to put 14 stones in a bucket that will only hold 12. And we're going to have to make a hard decision here. This discussion this evening has pretty much locked us into, we are committed to keeping the school uses in this building. Obviously, town offices are top priority. They're staying in the building. PAC is a high priority, I believe, for most of us. So they're in the building. So we're stuck with, as we keep going, to the Boys and Girls Club space that is really, the way it's set up right now, not as much as they were looking for. It's about the same or maybe a little bit better than what they've got now, but it doesn't improve their situation dramatically, other than it locates them to a closer location to where most of their clientele is coming from on foot. And that's always been my reason for trying to fit them into the building. But realistically, if we're committed the way we're going right at the moment, I'm not so sure we can accommodate them to give them enough room for an improvement over what they already have.
So can I clarify something? The Boys and Girls Club is one of the reasons for the move is basically right now, the way the building is set up now is not conducive for study. So they've been utilizing the library and other areas because the game room or the playroom is upstairs. And if you've ever heard 12 kids running around and playing, you're not above you, you're not really sitting there studying below it. So that, we've talked that the Boys and Girls Club have talked about trying to do something with the basement. Unfortunately, because of handicap rules, to try to make a ramp or make something to get to the basement is not feasible. So that's the main reason for wanting to move, is to be able to have a better space for the kids that want to study and the kids versus the kids that are done with their studies per se.
I would agree with Mr. Passios. I agree the PAC needs to be there. Obviously, the town offices, the schools. I feel like even if you remove the Lions Club, that's just not going to be enough space to free up enough room. I do agree with Mr. Blatt that the Boys and Girls Club, it would be great to have that added study area. And I think in my opinion, I think with the conferences, that those are really important too. But with added conferences where we have those extra conferences, people in organizations should be able to reserve them, and we should be able to set up a conference room where we're going to have tables and chairs that they could reserve them from 2 p.m. to a 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Have those study sessions and have that opportunity where they can set up groups in conference areas and then in the gym area. And I think we could make it more available that we have conferences that people can book them and use them, and that they would be a priority.
The other thing that I need a little bit of clarity on is, I believe the extended day as it's laid out in this plan and those programs in that back corridor are presently still not up to the full space that they really need. I think Dr. Burnham had mentioned that. I'd like clarification on that also, because if that 5,000 square feet plus 1,000 square feet for ACE doesn't cover enough space for the programs, then we've got another issue of space deficit.
Okay.
Is Doc?
Yeah, no, Dr. Burnham, if you're willing, we would, and if you have any information on that, we would certainly take it. Thank you.
So last year, this year's a little bit different because we're working under different guidelines and limitations for social distancing and so forth. But last year, the program had 125 students participating, and we were utilizing 5 classrooms here. I think that the need is not going to be diminished because our enrollment numbers at the primary school remain strong. We're not seeing that, the numbers are dropping off. So I would anticipate that there would be continued need for that kind of space.
Yeah, and I tell you, I can vouch for that space. I mean, my kids have all been in through that from time to time. And I really see that as a need. I mean, that's an extension of the school program as far as I'm concerned. And it really provides a benefit, at least in terms of this family in town. It provides a direct benefit to the families in town. I mean, it seamlessly works with being able to, for parents who both work, being able to drop the kids off, and the kids are then able to get, to school, and then the same thing on the backside. I see it as it's a huge benefit. And I can see the years I was there with my kids, it was packed. So, I don't know. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too.
And that said, I think, Dr. Burnham, correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, what you just spoke about was the extended day program. So the early learning program, preschool and ACE, still need their 1,000 square feet each, but really extended day needs more than the 3,000 that's committed right now. Am I correct?
Correct. Currently, the Community Links program has 2 classroom spaces that they're using here at TCP. And the preschool currently is using space in one of the extended day classrooms. So theoretically, if we could maybe squeeze out one more classroom, as the kiddos leave the extended day program in the morning, the early learning center kids could come in and utilize one of those classroom spaces during the school day. And they would exit the program before the kiddos arrive back to extended day in the afternoon.
So here's a question on that, and I think Dr. Burnham, this is going to come to you. How much storage space does the after school program need? Because I don't see closets in this plan yet. So how much storage space would you estimate the early learning needs? I don't know what equipment you guys use and what seasonal stuff there is for the preschool, for the extended day. Where do you see the need for that? How much need do you see there?
That's a good question. I can't answer that for you right now, but I can get an answer for you. Inside of the classrooms currently, there are cabinets and cubbies. So there is some storage built into the classrooms as they currently exist. I don't know what the total square footage of that kind of storage is, but I can certainly find out for you and provide you that information.
So, and just to recap what I heard Mr. Roy and Brian, I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong till the cows come home. How do you say it?
Leighton.
Leighton. All right, Brian. so what I'm hearing, Dr. Burnham, and certainly, I think we all want to make this work for the Boys and Girls Club. But if the Boys and Girls Club was not there, and if ACE was relocated into this current Boys and Girls Club space, and if the rest of that Boys and Girls Club space was for the extended day program, based on your look at this, would that meet your needs?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you think that would be too much space? I know that that's a weird question, but do you think that there would be some space left over here? Maybe that room noted as homework educational, maybe what's noted as activity multi-use room art space. Do you see significant space left over?
Perhaps. And I'm wondering if potentially the Boys and Girls Club might be able to occupy a little less space, but have a space that's designated and prepped for them, to come and do their work, use computers, and consider it, I guess, like an annex to the current location. So the kids could do some work and then they can head on over to the other building, to hang out with their friends.
Yeah, I like the idea of the Boys and Girls Club having some space, but also keeping the building that they have, and then they're actually expanding. Maybe have a home base in the TCP where they can still use the gym. Maybe they have a study area, a small room to study area, a check-in desk, and that they can still have a base here. Then they still have their building, they still have their basketball court. Yes, they got to travel back and forth, but I think if you have an adult at the front desk check-in, you're going to have an adult at the gym. They'll actually have that expansion capability. They can even still go to the library as well. But I think it gives them more opportunities, and it frees up the space so we have the needs for the school. And then if there's potential expansion or spaces to move up or change, there's that availability.
Can I interrupt and ask a question as an outsider?
Sure, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marcy Foreman. I'm on the board of the Boys and Girls Club as the fundraising co-chair. And please forgive me because I've been keeping abreast of all this in the background. What is going to, if the Boys and Girls Club is able to come into TCP, what would take the space in our current building? I'm unfamiliar with what the plan would be there. I'm just curious on that.
That's a big question. That's a big question, and it's a difficult one for this committee because we are, we have a set directive,
Task,
if you will. Yeah, directive.
Right.
Our task is really limited to this building, TCP building. So it is a, that's a loaded question, but it's a good question.
You know, as I've been listening to you guys discuss this, and I'm a little bit familiar, I think you referred to it, the ACE program, the transition, is it ACE, the transition from the 18, 21-year-olds?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit familiar with those kinds of programs. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, to me, our current building for the club would be like a perfect fit in my eyes for that kind of program, where it has the kitchen, it has, you know, living spaces, it has office spaces, and in, you know, working with those skills and things along those lines. And that's what brought up the curiosity of if there was a plan for our building if we were coming in here. But I don't know, again, how much space they need for their program. It was just a thought, if that had been looked at all.
Yeah,
Thank
no, I appreciate that. I mean, I think we heard that there were logistical issues with that relative to how the schools administer that and proximity of the administrator to that program needs to be directly there.
Right. Yeah, I did
so
hear you
we-
say that. You're right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's-
Conversely,
yeah,
if the ACE or if the school administrative offices were to move out of this building, ACE could very easily go along with them if they were going into a building that they all fit into. But that's not in the cards at this point, and that's not, you know, for us to say.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Dave. Go ahead,
I need
Dave.
to, one thing. So one things we have to think about here is that the town is funding ACE right now, but the town is not funding the Boys and Girls Club. And I understand the idea of having the two buildings, having all these things, but the problem is that the Boys and Girls Club now has to hire staff to watch, to look over the kids that are in other buildings. So you're increasing the budget of the Boys and Girls Club, which is being funded solely by townspeople and by donations. So, you know, my feeling is I'm trying to help the townspeople. And Greg, I don't know if you'll experience it as your kids get older, but, you know, this is, I hate to say it, but Boys and Girls Club is after school care for
Oh, yeah, my kids have been there. Yeah.
Okay. And the
Agree.
fact of the matter is that it's a huge asset in this town, that it's not that place keeps expanding and they have to keep turning kids away because they don't have enough room. And, you know, my feeling is that we're trying to service as many people in this town that need it. And if I told you that the budget for going to the Boys and Girls Clubs now doubled because they need to have more staff and things like that, are you thinking twice about sending your kids there? Or are you able to do it? And then how do we service the people who can't afford to double the budget, double their tuition for Boys and Girls Club for that same thing.
Yeah.
It's a necessary, it has become a necessary part of the school program. I hate to use the word, but it's a necessary part of the school program right now for parents who both work.
I
Yeah,
think there's no question of the vitality and the necessity of the Boys and Girls Club. I think that we all understand what it does. When I grew up in Lunenburg, we would go to the library, and the librarians would get upset with us when we make so much noise. And there definitely was a need for a Boys and Girls Club, back then, 25 years ago. So I think that there's no question about that. But to be clear, the Boys and Girls Club is a separate entity than the town, and it's an outside group. And so I think that what we're trying to prioritize is how do we meet all these needs, the needs of the town, the needs of the school department, and the community needs. And it's not certainly, we just can't do it all. So as we're exploring this conversation, it seems that we've gotten to a point in the chat that if we were to remove the Boys and Girls Club from this equation right now, that we have the space to meet everyone else's needs. So it would seem to me to be beneficial then to the next step to be, well, how do we minimize to make more room? How do we meet the needs of the town? How do we meet the needs of the school? And how can we be creative with, maybe PAC doesn't need that special kitchen studio, and maybe that will free up a little bit more space down there. And I think that if we go about this in that way, we may find more room. But I would just urge against a predetermined conclusion that we need to having the Boys and Girls Club here is creating problems right now for the other needs.
I would agree with Mr. Jeffries, except for the PAC studio. They're going to be paying for the kitchen studio.
That's right.
With that.
That's
But
right.
the
That's
extended
true.
week area, I find that's really an important need, and that parents, if they're going to see the program get cut again, which they just saw 2 years ago, they're going to be in an uproar, and they're not going to want to support this TCP design. I feel like we want to have that parent support. I would not want to have the extended day program be decreased because the Boys and Girls Club was expanding. And I would also love to hear if there's any information about how the budget would be affected by having a component at TCP. I feel like they already had a component of TCP using the gym, and they're probably using staff to have a study space. So if we were to decrease the size here, keep the building that they currently have, we're also not creating an issue that citizens are going to be upset that we're already vacating a new building by building this redesign. So I'm hesitant to open up the Boys and Girls Club, but also I think they're going to want some space for studying, and I think this gives them that opportunity too. It's not the ideal, but I think it's the best situation for all of us, or for every group.
Yeah, and so I think that we're at a point where that this has been good dialogue, but I think that one of the things I definitely want to come out of this with is a priority list. And I think that we have set those on the table, and I think that I think that if we do that, this is going to become clear. So I'd like to do that. I'd like to really come up with a sort of a priority list that the committee can get behind. But I think before that, I'll just say a couple words relative to the Boys and Girls Club discussion. This is a difficult one for me because I agree with Mr. Blatt. My kids, at least two of them, the two older ones, and I think my third is looking to start, have all participated in the Boys and Girls Club. It's a terrific program. It is a lifesaver for parents. Not so much for me because my kids can walk home, but for kids who have no place to go after school, and it's a terrific outlet. It's a great program. It's positive. It gives them a place to get rid of some energy and to get maybe to get some studying done, although I don't think my kids ever did. But I see the value in it, and so I wish there was a way we could accommodate it, because I heard Michelle come before us for at least one lengthy time, but more sessions than that, and say that, and address the operational challenges that they have with their current space. But I think at the end of the day, the way I am sitting on this issue is that the uses that we already have in the building are, on my list, are higher priority. I think that the way I kind of viewed it and the way I started down the path was really hoping that there was going to be an excess of space in the building where we could accommodate it. But in my view, although I see it as a hybrid, I understand what Mr. Blatt's saying. It's definitely an extension of the after day. It's sort of like an extended day program. So it's almost like a hybrid school town use. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, because it's not sort of under the town's umbrella, I have to put that under the community uses box of our charge. And I guess I'm just leaning towards, I just think we're in trying to help everybody, we're going to end up with a few organizations, if not all of the organizations, squeezed on space when we move in. And that's not going to help anybody. So then, we sort of are sacrificing functionality across the building to try to achieve multiple, more uses than I think the building can manage. That's the way it's kind of shaping up for me. So, so I don't want to cut anybody off on that. And there's more discussion I'm sure we can have, but I really think we should try and priority list, and or maybe it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 type thing, but I think we need to come up with the must-haves, the real high priorities, and then the ones that are the we'd love to have type categories, but are less. And so I open that up. I think. Maybe I'll start it and maybe we can, and then you can modify it. But the way I kind of see the list is I see town hall. I see school department offices. And I'm writing here. I see the extended day programs. Excuse me, PAC. Would be in there. And then I'd see the extended day and ACE programs.
By extended day, are you including preschool and
Yes,
early
sorry,
learning?
I should, yeah. Preschool, early learning, and extended day. Preschool really isn't in that category, I guess. Preschool is school. So we can list those separately.
Mr. Chair,
And
do you want to?
yeah,
wanna
and then
go
I'll
around?
take, and let's just go right around and sort of, I give that as fodder. And we can kind of go around and just kind of narrate that. Mr. Blatt, I'll let you go first if you're willing.
Okay, so I look at it the same way. I'll just go through the list and I'll tell you how I see my priorities. So I see our charter as town hall is number 1. School offices is number 2. I'd say extended day to me is number 3. PAC is number 4. Boys and Girls Club is number 5, and ACE is number 6. Because I look at it as if it's all we're talking about is an admin, is the only reason why ACE cannot use a building that's already set up for them, then I look at it as that's an option.
And for clarification, Mr. Blatt and Mr. Roy, how are you evaluating the Lions Club storage space and the commercial kitchen in here?
So I'll go first then, since I was on that the last. I'd look at the kitchen as a probably my number 7, and the Lions Club is number 8. Then, well, I look at the commercial kitchen as probably a higher priority. I would put the extended kitchen above Boys and Girls Club and ACE then. is I think that's a true community thing. And I put the food pantry as the last priority on this. I have to make a new list here, guys. I already had a nice little scorecard.
Greg,
Yeah,
if I could,
Maybe I could do a, I'm trying to, I'm gonna, is it okay if I stop my screen share?
Sure.
That bother anybody? Okay. I'm gonna do I'm gonna do some typing while we're talking here. All right, go ahead, Mr. Passios.
yeah, I kind of lump things together in my list. I didn't break it down as far as you know, you guys started to with the ancillary uses beyond the major departments. But I basically the first four: town offices, school offices. I put all school programs together as three, including ACE and all the other school programs, which is about 6 classrooms, excuse me, just for the programs. PAC in their space that's presently outlined on the plan. I threw the commercial kitchen in there as you guys were mentioning it, because it's part of the community organization and community uses space that I think we're committing the building to. Lions Club, I think it's just such a good fit to get them into a building with accessibility. And I leave the Boys and Girls Club down at the bottom of the list. And if they could take advantage of 600 to 1,000 square feet, if we can free it up for study space, so on and so forth, and keep their main program in the building that they're in now, that's fine. Otherwise, we have that space possibly sitting in limbo. We don't necessarily know that until we were to rearrange all of this. And accommodate the first 5 priorities first, which are going to take up the most space, and then see what we've got left.
Well,
And I
I'm
think that's what should come out of this meeting tonight, is that, you know, I don't think we're the ones to rearrange the floor plan. I think that's our architect's job.
Yeah.
But we need to give them the direction as to, you know, what direction we see ourselves heading with our priorities.
Yep. But I think the front end of this discussion, and we haven't departed from this priority discussion, but just as an aside to that, the front end of this discussion where we identified that we do not need a dedicated select board office or a state rep, I mean, that's good information, and we should pass that on. And other input that we need a real confidential conference area. I mean, that's all meat and potatoes for them. So I appreciate that. But all right, Michael Ray Jeffries, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm going to keep this simple. I concur with Dave Passios fully on his prioritization list. You know, I would add that one of the things that that was said in this whole process that really has hit me was by Mr. Allison, and that was, you know, our town. I think there's no question that we're invested in children, as we ought to be and as we should be. You know, there's always limited money. But I think we certainly are invested in kids. But there's not much that we're doing for the 18 to 55-year-old population. And so, you know, having space for the commercial kitchen, you know, that seems to be a repetitive need that I'm hearing from the farming community. The Lions Club, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people volunteer for these if you look at who the main volunteers are for the Lions Club, these are senior citizens. And so, you know, having them going up and down these stairs, you know, I certainly see the need for more accessible programming. And so I would prioritize that similarly, the same as Mr. Passios here. And I think that we can get to a point that we are going to meet these needs. Now, another thing is, you know, I think one thing that's come out in all this conversation, that the Boys and Girls Club needs more space. And so I would certainly want to know from them, if we vacate Town Hall, if we vacate Ritter Building, can either of those buildings better meet your needs, and specifically Ritter Building, because, you know, that's a lot of room over there that I think is much bigger than what is currently afforded in the Boys and Girls Club. But neither here nor there, I concur with Mr. Passios.
Mr. Leighton.
Thank you. I would agree with a lot of what Mr. Passios and Jeffries had said. I have a very similar order. Town offices, town hall. After that, school offices with ACE, because really that forces the school offices together. After that, conference room and conference room spaces, along with the community kitchen. After that, the preschool and the extended day. I feel like those, if they had to, they could move, but it's not a good situation if they do. After that, it would be the Lions Club, but I do feel like they have a strong need to leave the safety building, that it is an issue for them. After that, it's the Boys and Girls Club. I feel like the concern there is they have a high square footage need. And also it opens up another building in the community. I would like to see that. I feel like the architect should be that last resort, and then truly fit the needs of our groups that are going to be in there, hit the true needs and nothing above, and then see what's available after that, and try to find a Boys and Girls Club space where they can have a space for studying and have a home base, but not that we would move the entire Boys and Girls Club. Then I had the exceptions that you had with the state rep and the selectmen, if those make sense.
Yep. Did you have PAC in there? Was that your number 3
Sorry, I
line
think
school?
Skip that. That was right after conference rooms, and the community kitchen. PAC was right after conference rooms and community kitchen.
Oh, it was. Okay. Sorry about that.
You get that.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Well-
so Greg, what would you, now that we added Boys and Girls Club, Kitchen, and Lions, what are your priorities?
So my priorities would be town hall, town offices, number 1, school department number 2, PAC number 3. I give ACE, extended day, and preschool all of number 4. I kind of lump those together. And I did that for all of you that lumped them together too. I'm writing these down in a spreadsheet. I'm going to average them. Sorry, it's my engineering brain. Then I have the Lions Club. And I mean, Lions Club and Commercial Kitchen to me are about the same, but I do the Lions Club next, then Commercial Kitchen, and then Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. By the way, I did the same spreadsheet for you.
Did you?
I was doing the same spreadsheet, so the engineer's doing that as well. So,
So basically, we all gave town hall and school department a 1 and a 2, or priority 1, priority 2. With the exception of Brian, everybody gave PAC a 3, except for Brian, which was a 5. And okay. And then ACE, extended day, and preschool all got 4s, except for Brian gave ACE a 2, because he lumped that in with the school department. And so basically, town hall, school department, PAC, ACE, and extended day and preschool pretty much all got, I mean, with the exception of a few outliers, all got 4s or higher. All were our top 4 priorities. The commercial kitchen was a 5, most of the time a 6. One person gave it a 5, the other person gave it a 3. And then Lions Club was mostly a 5. And Boys and Girls Club was a 7s from 4 and 6 from 1, I think. Did I get that right? So go ahead.
can I ask a question? For the ACE program, we have this kitchen.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
furnishing that kitchen? My understanding is for PAC, we give them something to use. You know, we just provide them electricity and gas, and then they go nuts. Is that the same thing for ACE? Or is the town having to pay now for this kitchen and everything else? I guess my question is, I mean, I have kitchens available and I have spaces around. I'm having trouble with building another 3 kitchens in this building. It just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Do they?
But all 3 uses are different, and in the ACE program, you cannot mix I don't believe you can mix the uses with that program for a kitchen facility for them. And it's a very basic kitchen. It's a stove, a refrigerator, and some countertops. It's not a commercial kitchen. It's a basic kitchen like you'd have it in a studio apartment or something, maybe a little bit more than that.
But to Dave's point, the problem is that Dave Blatt's point, the problem is it might not be need to be a commercial kitchen, but when you put it in a commercial building, it's got to be a commercial kitchen.
Right.
So, you know, what do they have now? Do they have a kitchen now?
They have a kitchen area, but it's like maybe a toaster or something like that if the superintendent's available. But yeah, it's the sink from the classroom, microwave, kind of basics, but it would be better if they had a potential stove to work on.
I mean, as
But
soon as you
now
tell,
sink,
as soon as
microwave.
you- yeah,
We ask
As
Mr.
soon-
Wanda this.
yeah. John, are you willing to?
Sure. So we have very similar facilities included in the middle school, high school. It says very basic. It's not a commercial grade kitchen. It does not have a commercial grade hood. It has your typical, domestic or residential type oven, dishwasher, refrigerator.
Okay.
So it's not. It doesn't trigger. It won't trigger.
Yeah, wonderful.
Redesign of the building. The only thing I would think that'll be needed would be, electric, obviously, and then probably a stack to the roof for the exhaust.
Probably something similar to like a staff lounge need.
Yeah, that's online.
Yeah. And I think we located it in that central hallway adjacent to the bathrooms, assuming that the plumbing will be pretty much available right there through the wall.
And so I would look at it as then maybe the better idea would be to the upper left corner of that space. And I know we're not looking at it, but this way you still get the plumbing, but you have the ability to throw a vent out the wall instead of making another hole in the ceiling. I just don't want to make another hole in the roof. With the amount of trouble this town has with roofs, I don't want to put another hole in the roof. So, my goal would be as much as we can go through a wall and just have it vent out the wall type of thing. So the kitchen might be better served in that if I'm looking in this direction, the upper left corner, turning it 90 degrees and using that space right there.
Over here.
I think the architects would have figured that one out with a kitchen not in the middle.
Yeah, I understand. But that's too many years of building houses, myself and architect type of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. See, I think once we get past this conversation this evening, then we can really start moving forward into looking at every individual space and make recommendations and ask things like you just did, Mr. Blatt, to get the kitchen where it really should be in the correct corner of the room. That I see as our next step. Once we get past what we're discussing tonight. And I think we've made some great headway. I just caution that we make sure that the superintendent and the school district clearly communicates with the architect before the next design comes out so that they get the square footage that they need now that we're potentially opening up space, because we've committed to them. I don't want to come back in 2 weeks and say, schools still don't have enough room. We need to nail that down for both the administrative offices and make sure these school programs have the space they need, which they do not in this plan, and get that nailed down. Then we're ready to move forward to, we want the sink on this side of the room versus the other side of the room, so on and so forth.
So, so I think we have a great priority list. Great work. We did that in like 10 minutes. Great job, everybody.
Yep.
But what I also want to do is, so we can pass that on, but I want to give them a clear list of things that came about in this meeting too. So if I could just list these real quick, and actually, I'm sharing my screen. We do not need the select board office and state rep office, correct?
Correct.
Okay. No EOS and state rep. We do need a conference room that is confidential, that can be used for confidential conversations with various people, town council, sensitive discussions perhaps between residents, that kind of thing. Sort of confidential in that you don't want to be sharing a wall with a non-confidential space like a lounge. Is that an accurate way to depict
I
that?
think that is, and I would add that it needs to be able to hold about 8 people.
Confidential conference room, approximately 8 people-ish. Okay,
Okay, I'm
Um,
sorry. Can I ask one question on that?
sure.
Do you feel that town clerk interim conference is that type of room, Mr. Jeffries?
I don't know. I mean, it's in a public area. Actually, I would say no. So because of the, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It
Okay.
potentially could be, but we run the risk that when the town clerk needs to actually use this room, if there's contract negotiations that need to happen, if there's a lawsuit that we're going through in town, then we're still going to need some space to be able to have those conversations.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
probably not the best space to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just pass on those, we'll just pass on this. What I'm looking to, I'm not looking to solve it. I'm looking to pass on what we need and then let the architect solve it.
I understand. I was just trying to,
Yeah.
understand.
No, I
that,
get it.
you know.
I get that. I get it, Dave.
Okay.
No, listen, I appreciate your comments. They're great. I don't think that way sometimes. So next I had on my list was school department needs 3,000 square feet, approximately 3,000 square feet.
I would
That's
I
district
would,
offices, correct?
I would want to direct the architect to
School
have
department, excuse me.
conversations with the
Yeah,
superintendent.
and I know he has, but I almost feel like we should. Okay, that's fine. We'll just
So
say
do
that.
we need actually? Do you want to designate it as saying they need like say 2,000 square feet for the after school and preschool programs, and then an additional 1,000 square feet?
Well, I was just talking about the school department offices.
Oh,
And still, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay, I was looking at 1,000 for them, and then 2,000 for the
I
after
think they
school
said
care.
they needed. I think they said that just the department needs like 3,000 square feet, and that I think is inclusive of storage. If I'm not.
But
Yeah.
we've already given them 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, and they're saying that's not enough.
Right. So that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm trying to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm saying that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm saying. Oh, sorry, 1,000 additional. But I was saying.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
3,000. I was saying 3,000 total. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave.
All right. Thanks. I thought you were saying another.
No. I appreciate that. So I'll just say that we need to make sure. If we can frame it, we could just say the school department space as currently drawn appears insufficient by approximately 1,000 square feet, but we really want them to close that gap directly with the school school department.
Okay.
My understanding, Mr. Roy, that the architects did have a conversation yesterday with both
yeah.
the town and the school
Okay.
about space.
I feel like this has been an ongoing conversation, and
It
it's
has.
just constantly not fitting the needs, and that's the frustrating part. It's like we keep coming back to this and trying to get more space, and it doesn't.
So I think our priority discussion is going to be important for that piece of the puzzle. So
Greg, could you add to that additional 1,000 square feet that we perceive it to be in the pink area up at the end of the corridor across from the existing floor plan for administrative school offices?
yep. Is that all right with everybody?
I think
Yeah.
it has potential, but if they have better ideas, fine. But
Yeah.
I think there's potential.
Perceive is a good word.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I don't know if we were in consensus as well in the concept of conference room 2 being a staff lounge, or that storage space that Mr. Blatt identified on the corner.
After thinking about it, I am not in favor of the storage room just because there's no windows. I would be opposed to that. I think you'd want windows in your potential staff. Well, I guess conference room 2 doesn't either. But
Well, the other thing I think is I know that we probably can't have enough conference rooms, but I really, I don't know. I don't know that we need 6. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think we need 6 public meeting spaces. I mean, I think we need 5 rooms that can be used for public meeting spaces. And if we have a couple of the conference rooms, that's fine. Small, like 8 people type conference rooms. But we have, am I sharing my screen? Yeah. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and really 7 with the, I just don't think we need that many.
And by the way, you also have the there are conference rooms already in the plans
Yeah.
for the different departments too.
Yeah.
So there's
so
even
we got
more
a-
conference rooms.
We got a conference room in the town manager's suite. I think, I bet the school department would love a conference room.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the assessors have a conference room.
Yeah, the assessors have a conference room. Where did I see that?
It's right next to the school department, with the windows.
The very back.
Oh, right there. Yep, right there.
I think
there's
conference
another
two
one,
makes
too.
sense. It is a central location. You can have the PAC have access to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I mean, I just think that, you know, again, the town clerk area, we're gonna give that back for a couple months of the year. But there's at least 9, 10 months of the year, my view, unless someone corrects me, where that's gonna be a nice, legit room that could be used. So,
I agree. And having the staff lounge at conference room too, I think if we think about the flow of traffic and people coming in at that public entrance there, it's not a good look to walk by a break room before you get to where you need to be at, you know, especially when you know that they're all on tax dollars. So it is probably a little better to have that somewhere not immediately visible.
So
Yeah.
I do like the only thing is that as a member of boards that need a medium-sized room, I don't want to lose that 620 square foot size room because certain boards, that's all we need, or certain groups. So my proposal would be if you did that, I have no problems, but maybe get rid of the storage, that little weird shaped storage room, and make that all into one nice size conference room.
Yeah, that would be great.
Right?
which
Because
one? Oh, this one here.
yeah, that weird
Yeah,
shaped doohickey, because that
That's all they
storage,
can-
yeah, I'm not seeing anything in that storage there.
I do have to note that I have another meeting in 7 minutes and I have to take a break before that.
Understood. I think we're winding down here, so. All right, is there anything else that we really want to get to the architect? But I think we have a good,
Just the other thing for me was is an emphasis on reconfiguring the space outside the kitchen, conference room 3 and 4, so that it could be better be used for a community space and other things. So maybe this is an area where we don't need a conference room 3, and we just leave it as one large space.
I thought we talked at the last meeting about conference room 3 being tables and chairs.
I think so too.
That
So,
was storage of tables and chairs.
yeah,
Right, but that's a
Yeah.
lot of, okay, that's fine. If that's the case, I just need to reconfigure that, not as much as a conference room, but more of that space to be used for a multi-use space.
I agree.
Yeah, the
Okay.
other thing being that storage of, depending on what kind of tables and chairs you work with, as I believe they probably still do in Turkey Hill Elementary, in what we always call the cafetorium, is those tables folded up so that they pushed over into the corner of the room, and you could put them anywhere in the room. If you open that 3 and 4 and totally open it to a common space, as a common space, and then functionally you can, after you've set up the room and the tables and chairs are in there, then the staff that's taking care of that space can decide where to push those tables and chairs to. Don't necessarily need to close them off into space separate from the conference room.
So I would look at it as you can, Mr. Passio, I would look at it as you can, I could put a wall up and just this, I mean, not necessarily a room, but just an area for the storage. So whether you, whichever way you're using it, just an area for storage. Just so that, you know, nobody's putting the tables in the middle of the room or next to a window or something like that. There's like a space to put them. But that's, I'm going,
Right, when they're being in this stored position. Yeah, I
right.
get
We're going too far right now. I'm sorry.
Well, what I'm hearing is, what we need to communicate is, we want to make sure that room is a multi-functional space for a
That's-
primary meeting room, but also to be used in, you know, in concert with the kitchen for community events.
Correct.
So I think if we give them that, that direction, they're gonna understand we're gonna need tables in there, we're gonna need a place to put them when they're not being used, that kind of thing. So I think that's fine.
I think
Okay.
we've given them a good, you know, a good insight into what we think we want to do for the next gyration of the floor plan. And I don't think there'll be much tweaking that'll need to be made after that, other than within the individual spaces.
Yeah, that's where it really starts to come alive. I think we'll really start to see some
Okay.
Right.
pretty cool features
And-
come into play there.
And the thing is that, as they said at the last meeting, you know, we're holding up mechanical and engineering and all that kind of stuff if we keep moving these uses around.
Right.
If they can get it set
Yep.
by our next meeting, or at our next meeting, we set it in stone, then the numbers can fly pretty quickly.
Okay. And then the other side of it was for designated storage areas, since with the ceiling heights are higher, we're looking for stacked storage,
Stack storage,
Right.
yep. Vertical storage, yep.
vertical, as much as we can, vertical storage.
Yep.
Okay, good.
And
Mr.
estimate of what that's going to be.
Yeah, hang on one second. You're excused, Mr. Jeffries. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.
I was gonna offer one last comment, which is that at some point we have to have this conversation with Mr. Passios about how we're going to preserve the existing name of the building, but also, you know, we're gonna have to come up with a real name, a working name for this, because if we're you know, town hall, I would imagine, is not going to be called the TC Passios building, but we don't want to lose that. And since it was honored for education, it would seem that there's a potential that this is a conversation we need to have, but it seems that there's potential here to redesignate portion of the building to continue with that name, especially the school portion. But certainly, I think Mr. Passios is in the best position to talk about how we can appropriately preserve that. But I would just urge that that's a conversation to be had.
Thank you,
Okay.
Michael. Yeah,
Thank
when
you.
we get a little bit further down the road, when we're not so pressed to make decisions, my family members have had multiple conversations about that exact fact, and I've got some suggestions. So we'll deal with that as an agenda item somewhere down the road. Thank you.
And Mr. Jeffries, one last thing before you run. Conference room 5, the one that's sitting up there next to IT,
Yes.
are you okay with that being where the storage room is near the gym?
Am I okay with that conference room being?
You know, so moving that conference room away from IT up near PAC and bringing it towards the gym, the storage area, so that all the conference rooms are pretty much in the same area.
I would think that the storage space that's needed here is necessary, because I heard that that there's even more space needed than that. I don't know if that would be I don't know if I would agree with that. moving
Okay.
Conference
All
room.
right. Because I looked at it as then conference room 5 would be storage. And that would be the storage for the large conference room there, the 1,000 square foot conference room. And
But I think that if we were to consolidate conference room 1 with that storage, and that becomes conference room 1, and we eliminate conference room 2, and we eliminate conference room 3, and then we just have 5 and 6, I think that would be satisfactory.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right.
I just looked at number 5 being where the storage is, next to near the gym. That's why. But that's it. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
See you later. Thank you.
Michael, I'll see you in a few minutes. I got to be into that meeting at 7:15.
All right. See you later.
All right, guys. My goal was to try to end at 7.
Okay.
Not that we have to, but we're going to lose Dave in a few minutes, and then we'll be short of quorum. So I'd like to, if it's all right with you folks, I'd like to see if there's any public discussion. And I think I think we have come a long way in our discussion tonight.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, or do we have anything else to say from the committee on this?
From the committee point of view, I'm all set. Just so you're
Okay.
aware, if you can't see him, John Wanda has his hand up.
Yeah, no, I see that.
Okay.
I just figured that was a community comment, but go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you very much. John Londa, Director of Facilities for the School Department, resident 97 Autumn Road. I had a couple of comments. One, looking at the school area in the far wing, though I am, it's better than it has been. I'm seeing more of what we need. I am still missing an office space for the administrative assistant who works closely with the business manager, the food service manager, and the facilities manager. So I find that missing. And then a lot of the other requirements that we had look like they've been folded in with shared spaces, shared conference room, shared lounge area, that kind of thing. But that we are missing definitely that one office. And then the other piece that we've expressed concern about is just making sure we have room for copy machines, mailing machines, the technology that comes with the school department. Second point, having to do with the 354 square foot storage room. Currently, there is a sprinkler riser in there. I don't know, once they get the MEP design, we'll know if it's still there. It would not be something you'd want in a space that's an occupied space. But that's currently a custodial closet and a storage room side by side. The storage room has a vault in the back. It's a small vault, so I kind of suspect nobody will need it. It would probably get demoed then. But yeah, it really won't make, I don't think it will make a particularly great lounge area.
Yeah, but you have a class list, don't you?
Now, just speaking as a resident in the town, following the discussion on the Boys and Girls Club, here are my thoughts on it. So the Boys and Girls Club, it's the Chester Mossman Teen Center. It was a purpose-built building. And I've followed the discussions, and it's pretty clear that obviously doesn't meet all their current needs. I think it does this project potential disservice to suggest that it create another vacant building in the town center. That being said, clearly there are needs that the current building doesn't meet for the Boys and Girls Club. Those should be met, in the Passios room should be provided for that. That would be, some quiet study area, as well as access to the gym, which they've had, but that is something obviously they will continue to be looking for. And my last comment has to do with commercial kitchens. So I would urge a lot of caution on a commercial kitchen. Here's what I would suggest that you think about or come to grips with before you head down the road to a commercial kitchen. One, how is it getting permitted? Who's going to manage it? And how will it run? And all of those issues, I think, are critical before you spend a lot of money building a commercial kitchen. There are lots of rules that the Board of Public Health can explain that you have to meet to be able to have a commercial kitchen. And this has come up, of course, with the Passios in the past, and I have done some research on it. And as I went down the path, I could see ways to make it work. I also saw lots and lots of obstacles in the way. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but it was leaning me towards, oh, we're going to rent this space to somebody to permit it, to run it, and to manage it. And that was the only way, because I looked at what organization do we have in the town that currently is able to run a commercial kitchen other than the schools. And I don't know that we have one. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Wanda. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, quick Quick,
Yes, sir.
can I have a quick question for Mr. Londa? Is there a difference between a commercial kitchen and a community kitchen?
I think they're the same.
All right.
But what's different is how you operate them, but the rules that pertain to them, I think that's the piece that becomes a problem. If you want to have multiple entities sharing a kitchen, that's why I think you need to, that's why I saw the process was like, okay, well, we need to put out a RFP that says you get to permit this thing, you get to manage it and operate it, because nobody in the town is really in a position to do that, I don't think.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other members of the public have any comments?
Yeah.
I don't see any. I also don't have my participant screen up. Okay. All right, I think that's it. Any members? We lost Dave. This is interesting. We can't make a motion to adjourn, but I think that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're good. I think we're done. I'll accept the motion to adjourn, I guess. We don't have a quorum anymore, but it's an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, Brian Leighton,
Yes.
Dave Blatt,
Yep.
and
Yes.
an aye for me.
All right.
All right,
Thank you,
everybody.
sir. Thank you,
Good
sir.
work. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
You too.